the Mormon Mafia stealing $2,000 worth of Lego from a poor old man scandal is absolutely insane. What is up, winning team? And welcome back to another episode of The World Does Not Disappoint in Being Disappointing. And we're going to be today talking about this whole thing. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I'm going to quickly tell you exactly what happened because there's layers and levels. And this is the types of things where I say, this is why I don't identify as religion, and I don't want to be identified with the people over there who are just clearly doing things for their own selfish gains and have clearly got nothing to do with God, because again, the Bible talks about how his people are. That's why I always say to folks, you shouldn't go and blame God when God's book tells you how his people do and don't behave. I've been saying it from the beginning. That's why I always quote Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, self-control, long-suffering. It's right in there. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Whatever you think you deserve, you should give that to others. It's all in there. So if you see people not living that way, guess what? They're not living God's way. Guess what? They're not with him. So let's dig into this, because the guys who covered this and just the whole situation is actually really sad. And I feel for the people involved. So there is, so basically here's how it all goes down. I don't know if you guys are aware around the world. I only heard about this company just now called Bricks. What are they called? Bricks and Minifigs. Is it Bricks and Minifigs? I think so. And they are apparently a company where you can go and like sell and your like, I guess, bricks and minifigures, right? Your like Legos and stuff, and probably minifigures, and you can sell it to them or buy from them, or you can, what is it called? Give it to them on consignment. Oh, I'm going to need to remember the word, guys. It's going to come to me. Where basically you take whatever you have, so say like you got a big collection and they keep it and they put it on sale, and then once any of it sells, they give you 90% and they take 10% or whatever, right? And it's win-win, right? You have people that can sell it for you, and they get to make a bit of a profit and you get to get rid of the stuff. Now, this is also going to be another episode of why I've always believed that God wants us to have independence and be able to do things ourselves. Because when you see where we're at with this story as of right now, you're not going to believe it. And it's like the guy who did it. So it all started because this old guy had kept all this Lego Star Wars sets worth about $200,000. And so he's not been doing well. He'd saved all of this stuff and he always knew, hey, I can make money off of this one day, can help me to look after my family in my old age. And his son, I believe, wants going to go and cash it in because his dad needs help with the medical bills and stuff. So they're like, great, we've had this asset. And this is again why I say to you guys, trusting in the materials of this world and thinking you know what's going to happen is stupid. This is why I think everything is stupid. This is why I think insurance is stupid. This is why I think saving is stupid. All this stuff is stupid because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to change. You can't be sure. The only thing we can be sure of in this life is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit and God's character. Like, that's why I'm like, you got people, if you do, that's why not having a relationship with God is like, you're not a believer then. You're just following some man-made religion, which is what Mormonism is. Just like I think Catholicism is, just like I think most religions are, most denominations, all denominations, in fact, because there is no denominations in the Bible, but whatever. So here we go. He goes off to this Bricks and Minifigs to sell everything. Yay. Hoo-ha. Awesome. As he gets there, and all of a sudden, overnight, after this big drop that he's given them, and they're going through the final this and that, they all of a sudden come under new management, and this new management now doesn't want to pay him. Now, here's the thing about that. They are now saying, oh, well, that was under the other management. We don't know what you're talking about. Like, we don't, whatever. And he's like, well, then can you give me my Lego back? Because technically speaking, he does technically, and this is why I'm like, guys, all these contracts and stuff, you can't trust in what other humans say unless somebody, for me, is a Holy Spirit-filled, Bible-believing follower of Jesus Christ. Holy Spirit-filled, Bible-believing follower of Jesus Christ. I can't trust anything you do, because as soon as you have an opportunity to screw me over, you might, because why not? If you can get away with it, because you can just play the game of life in your own favor, albeit playing it the dirty way, and get away with whatever. The only reason anybody has not to, realistically, at the end of the day, is because you have a higher accountability to hold yourself to. Not a jury of the sheeple that you can sway or excuses you can make, because you can't make excuses before the Lord, right? So this is why I like having the Lord, because I can't manipulate him. I can't manipulate anyone, because even if I get away with it here, it's like I can feel a million eyes of the Lord looking at me like, oh, you're going to play in my face. You're going to play in my face. So this guy, anyways, he ends up in this whole big issue. So this YouTuber called, I think it's like Reckless Ben or whatever, Ben gets involved. And he's kind of one of those who's like, into kind of calling out and speaking up and showing up to, these types of religious things, or not even religious, just potentially controversial and lots of different things. I'm newer to knowing who he is. And he's a really sweet young man. So he decides to take himself all the way to Utah, which, by the way, Utah is apparently the search for Lego. The Google searching for Lego is number one in Utah in all of the United States. I find that to be absolutely incredible. So I didn't know the Mormons were into Lego. And by the way, this story really hits me hard because I love Lego as well. Like, I actually really love Lego. And it's also another example of how as soon as you, like, as we as humans find something, we always are going to find something to overindulge in and to overexploit. That's why I say in every religion you have it. In Mormonism, they don't do caffeine, and they don't do this, and they don't do alcohol, but then they'll go and abuse sugar and these weird, like I said, these weird things like Lego, because it's so family oriented or whatever. So then this is something that they can get into. So they're also the ones who own Crumble. And to see how that happens, it's like what I see on the side of Islam. They don't drink, they don't do this. But have you seen, I remember when I was living in London, oh my gosh, the way some Muslims are, especially younger people, are on the frigging shisha and the vapes is insane. Like, I would go to shisha, or like what you could call a hookah bar, and I'm just there and I'm just vibing, and I'm not really there for that, but it's all good. It's all love. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, go with some of these Muslim people, and they are like for their dear life, and it's like, whoa, I don't know if we need to do all that, but whatever, right? I even had a guy on my course. He has his own shop selling it, and he used to have this big, this is before vaping was a thing. So this is before vaping was like, he would have one of those big, the big ones that you like fill with the liquid, and he used to blow these like clouds, and he was doing it all day. That thing never left his hand, and he had his own store. And I was like, this is interesting. Like I said, even like, with the Christians of it all, okay, we don't do this, we don't do alcohol, we don't do that. But we know we do it really well, and we do overindulge in caffeine and food. This is what I'm saying. We always find a way to overindulge, even if we think we're better than. That's why I'm like, it just kind of looks stupid to me, because it's just like everybody just found whichever was the allowed like addiction or overindulgence in your category. But anyways, nevertheless. So this is why I say to you guys, it's, again, before I continue, it's better to do things yourself. And God gave us independence, because as soon as you give up your freedom and the decisions over your life to somebody else, they can do whatever they want with it. Like I'm saying now, because we gave over food, even we pay water bills, right? Now they get to just control things and change things if they want to, because we gave over our power. We should have been like, who's paying for water? Like, I was thinking to this guy, I've been selling stuff online since I was a kid, because I learned I could do it at 13. And I convinced my mum to let me use her eBay. So I used to sell on eBay. That's how I used to make money. And I used to sell Jordans. I'd buy and sell Jordans. And I would buy and sell a lot of stuff, but mainly Jordans, because I always knew which ones, because I was into trainers. So I always knew which ones were popping. I knew all the stores. And that was my little hustle before I was old enough to get a job, right? And so I've been selling stuff online this whole time. Even now, I'm planning on selling some more stuff again. And it's so easy to do. So I'm like, he could have literally just taken out like an entire week, the sun that is, or a weekend or a couple weekends, and every weekend spend, one Saturday or one Sunday taking photos and uploading it online. For goodness sake, himself holding his own auctions. Like, he could have even made a whole social media. He probably could have quit his job and spent all this time doing auctions for Lego Star Wars on social media. People are doing that now. But all because we want to get somebody else to do something and we're ready to hand over our freedoms. But that's not even the point of this video, but it is just something worth mentioning. So now this YouTuber gets involved and he's trying to help, and it turns out some other people had bought, these two other guys had taken over the store. We don't know where the people who were there before had gone. They've gone. But now this guy, his name's, was this like John Johnson or something? I don't know. He's all like, nah. We don't know what you're talking about. And he starts even threatening this guy, Ben, the one who's the YouTuber, saying, if you tell the police, we're going to tell the police that you're the one who stole it. So they were doing a lot of kind of admitting to it. And so you would think at this stage, and this is again where I say, and this is what I'm saying, it's another episode of The World Does Not Disappoint being disappointing, where I don't still understand why everybody has so much trust, especially so-called believers, in the world systems. So what a lot of people would say in this instance, you got to call the police. Right, the police who's put away all the Epstein victims and the Diddy victims. Yeah, the police who gave Diddy 4 years. The police who've done so much for all the children in the underground tunnels and the people who've been abused by predators and creepazoids. Yes, let's go to said police. So they go to the police, or rather, don't even have to. The police comes to them because they now are like, oh, we're going to try and sue you guys for stealing, and we're going to try and go the legal route, which Ben managed to actually do it. Now, I want to point out that getting even this far is only possible because Ben is a YouTuber who has time and the resources to take off to do this. And this is why the evil people of the world and why the devil keeps us busy working in his kingdom, because then we don't have the time when we're wronged done or somebody's doing something. Because I truly believe these people think, oh, we're going to get away with this because who's going to do anything? No one's going to have the time for a court case. Like I've even said to you guys, I recently almost was involved in a court case, and I said to them, look, respectfully, even if I wanted to, I don't have the time. Like, I don't know where you expect me to find the time to keep up with this, because he's spending his whole week, he's spending all this time, he's getting through the court thing, he's doing that, he's having to then go and, you know, he's the court saying you need proof that he tried in order for us to put through so he gets through his first claim, and they side with him, but they haven't been able to get to the point where they're being sued for stealing yet, right? And bearing in mind, this is again very much the devil move, taking advantage of people in vulnerable positions. Because remember, it's a guy who's trying to help his father who's older. They need the money. His father's not doing too well, so it's an abuse. They're thinking this is just some old man we could take advantage of. The same way that the devil's like, oh, these are just these weak, stupid people of society, the weak, stupid, average person. I'm just going to take advantage of them. That's exactly how it works. So I'm like, guys, I'm getting so bored of saying the same thing and seeing the same story. Like, I'm actually bored of it. I'm actually getting bored. I'm actually bored out of my mind. So the next thing is they start in on the court cases and whatnot, and the police, they try to put through the next, file another suit, right? And they come back and they're like, well, you can't file a suit unless you can show that you've tried to resolve it out or already without an official court case. Which I was thinking, that would be my nightmare if I actually believed in the justice system for some of the things I've been through, and that was what I was told. I would immediately have killed myself. I'm not even joking. Because what do you mean I now have to go back to these people who've already proven, and I already know, I have to prove to you that I actually tried? How insane is that? How freaking insane actually is that? So anyways, he ends up going and now trying to get evidence of him trying the first guy, because there's two guys involved. First guy won't face him, and the police keep getting sent, and the police are just doing weird things. Like the police are like saying, we think you're driving. At first he tried to say that these guys were selling heroin. So the police are asking them to get out of the car. They're searching the car. We still don't believe you. And the police were just going on and on and on and being so dodgy. And it didn't really make sense why until it made sense, right? Then they managed to get papers to serve because they'd done all of this, and they had some police reports from them, you know, trying to be there, and the guy, you know, trying to get a restraining order. They were like, is this not proof of us trying to actually talk? And then the court was like, I bet, fair enough. And they gave them serving papers to go and serve these guys. Again, these guys wouldn't be getting this justice if it wasn't for random YouTuber getting involved, similar to how Gideon, and he's the one helping people with predators, and they wouldn't be getting their justice if it wasn't for a random YouTuber who happens to have the time and the resource. So I'm saying the devil wants to take away our time and resources, all these things, so that he can get away with stuff. And then we just have to take whatever he's giving us. And I'm so sick of it. That's why I'm not okay with just going along with the food chain of how everybody's living our lives anymore. That's why I'm not prepared to just turn a blind eye and just live like everybody else is living, not having time for things, not having the resources, just so that the people with the time and resources can get away with whatever because they have the time and the resource. Do you guys understand why I get so annoyed about this stuff? So anyway, so he eventually he manages to, what happens? Yeah, so they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with the police. They go to try and serve the papers because they have to go and serve the papers. So again, another way the system screws you over. The same way, like if you've been a victim of somebody and you're actually traumatized, and now what do you have to do? Oh, you have to be critiqued in court, but every single little detail about every single thing that happened. You have to sit across from the person that did it, watch their lawyer rip into you, make sure you've got a good enough lawyer. So I'm saying, I don't know why anybody thinks there's any such thing as justice in the justice system. And this is why when people are like, if this happens, if that really happened, why don't they go to the police? This is why. So the next thing, they have to now go serve the papers. So again, they have to go and confront this person. They go and try to serve the papers. They've refused to come out. Then the police are like, what are you here for? We're here to serve papers legally. And thank God to these young men, they knew well what they were doing. They were so respectful because again, God forbid they did anything wrong, then the system would have found a way to say, yep, right, we're writing you off what you're doing. Bearing in mind, they're trying to help, again, an old man who just wants his Lego, right? And he was known to, I think, have the largest Lego Star Wars collection in the world or something. Anywho, so they are now just outside waiting, which again, who has time to just be outside waiting to try and catch this guy? And then the police keep coming, like an hour and then like an hour later. And you're like, how do the police have this much time? They're like, what are you guys still doing here? They're just in the car. They're waiting to serve the papers because they have to serve the papers. That's what they have to do. Then they're like, let's see them. We don't even know if this is real. We don't think this is real. They go to try and give it to the guy. The guy says he doesn't want to take them. The police bring it back and say he doesn't want to take them. Then they got angry at the very end because they called to check with their team. Is this real? We want to see these documents. Is this real? It's real. So he goes and does this. Is what I'm saying. This is how they'll come for you when you're going up against the system, the so-called justice system, when you're not the one who they're in bed with, because that's where this is headed. Next thing you know, they are, how do they eventually get to serve the papers? I can't remember. They decide to go to the house where this guy Ben, the YouTuber, and his friend are staying, and they raid the house. The police are coming in, guns, all this. We heard that you've got stolen Lego here. You have the stolen Lego. The guy walks out, Ben. He walks out casually because everything the police is asking him, he's not resisting arrest. He's actually so chill and calm. The police officer brings him outside the house and is like, stop. It's funny because the police footage, they had to keep redacting areas where they were contradicting themselves. But the police footage shows that he did not resist. He actually walked happily out of the house. The police grabbed his back of his arm and dislocated his shoulder. But here's where it gets crazy. You know why all this is happening? Because the freaking bigwigs of bricks and minifigs and the police we're all in the old boys club back in Mormonism. Yeah, turns out I think they went to BYU, is it? I can't remember what that stands for, but it's like the like Mormon school in Utah everybody goes to, and they were all together, they've all been there. And so the reason this is all happening is because they all have each other's backs. And as Alyssa Grenfell pointed out, she's an ex-Mormon and I love her. She's so precious. And she's one of those people that really makes me angry on behalf of her and people like her and why I talk about this stuff. Where I'm like, these people literally take the most innocent, lovely people with the most purest of hearts and just exploit them. And that's so ungodly. Because she even said it. She was like, look, I can see one of the guys wearing the Mormon garments, because, you know, they all have garments they wear, like their Mormon underwear. It's like I can even see his garments underneath his clothes. I can't believe this. And then so he's going to take those same garments. He's doing this to hurt somebody else. I thought the Bible says this. I thought the Book of Mormon is about love. I thought God was about this. And I was like, this is my point. And this is why I have to get annoyed and I have to make these videos and I have to speak up, you guys, because I'm absolutely sick and freaking tired, yeah, of me and other people who actually spend the time with the Lord and also God having to deal with as if that we have anything to do with people like this. God has no part in this. I have no part in this. A lot of people don't. This is the furthest thing from godliness ever. Literally, this is equivalent to I was telling you about the Amalekites who God wanted to wipe out of the Bible. I recently did a whole series about them. He wanted to wipe out the entire tribe. Why did he want to do that? You might be asking. Well, if you go and check, it's because these people wanted to what was I going to say? These people decided that when the Israelites were leaving, everybody else in the world was scared. And isn't it ironic that the people that were the closest to God again, just like how it was Jacob and Esau was Jacob's brother, and the tribes of Israel obviously come from Jacob. Jacob became Israel. As they were leaving Egypt, the whole world was scared to take on these people. This is why they were able to just walk through the wilderness, not bothered, because everyone was scared. The whole world heard about what the God of these people had done to Pharaoh, and they were like, nah. But then the Amalekites decided they were going to attack, right? Because they were jealous, bitter, whatever from the past. And who did they attack? They attacked at the rear. They attacked the vulnerable, those who couldn't keep up, the children, the pregnant women, the sick, at the back with no honor. No honor in their bones. And these were the people God was like, take them out. And we went through it, guys. We went through it. It was a whole series. How people kept failing to take them out. And God was like, this still hasn't been dealt with. This still hasn't been dealt with because I'm not okay with this happening to my people. I'm not okay with this happening. And you just best believe you don't do this to people like this. You best believe that's the most ungodly thing ever, is to take advantage of people who are in a more vulnerable position, because this is what they're doing. You know that they're getting away with this because they're used to the fact that how are you going to come up against this big corporation and the freaking justice system? Most people are going to give up, and that story is just going to die. And that Lego 200,000 is going to be gone forever. So thank God there's people like this guy as a YouTuber giving up his time to do that. And then like Gideon, like the predator who's catching predators, taking out the time, because who else has the time to do it? And again, because they're living for themselves. They're living in themselves. They're doing things for their own time. They have control over their time and their resources, so they can actually do stuff and not just be slaves. And that's why the devil targets everybody else, because like, good luck, good try. This is why these Hollywood people, they do the same thing. Oh, having somebody, having an old crusty, dusty, fat Hollywood executive, forcing himself onto you on set every day is worth it if you get to be a superstar. This is how they get away with it, because they know you are desperate for the money. You need the money. You know that if you get this check, if you get this big break, if you sign this record deal, if you manage to make it to the Olympics, if you manage to get this, you can look after your family, you can afford your medical bills and all this stuff. Why do we need those things anyways, when these are all things that are supposed to be covered? Because all things like food and medical bills. Listen, Food and Drug Association, you don't know what God's Food and Drug Association is. Do you want to know what it is? It's called nature. You want to know where God's supermarket, God's pharmacy is? Right out there in nature. But again, we've given that over. This is why these stories, this is why I say the world doesn't disappoint in being disappointing. This is why I will not accept anybody telling me that I'm crazy or whatever, or I take things too seriously. No, because you don't take things seriously enough. Because if you did, you'd understand this is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And why are any of us putting up with this? But no, instead we want to say, oh, it's just fine, it's just whatever. No, we are the ones who created, we used our free will to create a world where these people can get away with these things. And now we're paying the consequences. And you know what's crazy? And this is the bit that annoys me. It's only at that point, after we mess everything up, where we then want to go, but God, if you're so loving, how could you let this happen? Maybe you should have followed his ways in the first place. Like I said, wisdom would have told you, like I said about this Lego, I would have been like, if I had a job and I was the son, I'm like, I'm taking time off work for this. I'm taking off 2 weeks. This is about to become my job. We're about to do this together. I'm about to spend my life uploading this stuff myself or going and selling it myself. Because God forbid, because even just the whole idea of consign, this is why I don't like how we do things these days. All of this, go into debt, have like loans, have like this, have insurances and all this stuff, where people have stuff that's technically yours, but you technically don't have access to. Pensions, investments, get this bank account, and in 20 years, you don't know where the world's going to be in 20 years, brother, right? Because somebody can then take advantage. The difference was, one time that stuff was in your house and it was yours, and you were sitting on 200,000, and just like that, you're not anymore. Just like that, back to the drawing board. Can you imagine? And you could have just done it yourself. But we're so used to, as people, relying on others and always expecting it to work out, even though it doesn't take a freaking rocket scientist to figure out that backfires so much of the time. And the only reason we don't know more is because we've all created the world that helps people to get away with it. And when God is like, yeah, guys, be self-sufficient, be this, have this for yourself, this is for you. We don't like that model. We like at least if I can go to the supermarket, I don't have to do the farming. If I go to the pharmacy, I'm just going to trust the doctor. I could put this stuff myself, but now it's here. And then you find yourself here, and what you're going to do? What are you going to do? Because now you're reliant. So I'm saying, these are the things that tell me, yeah, the devil knows he's got us. He's on our necks now. And we are the ones who are here. We brought ourselves here. So I'm sad about this story. And by the way, the young man's in jail now. Well, he had to leave the country. They jailed him. They were like, they got so far with their corruption. They went so far with their corruption that they arrested the YouTuber who was trying to help. They arrested him, and they were like, first of all, they let him out on bail. Then they said, we were putting a warrant out for his arrest again, and he's not getting bail this time. So he left to Mexico to try and figure out what he's going to do next. Can you imagine? All because you tried to help out an old person, and then this is the world that goes, and the same church idiots here who are like, this is, you should go to the justice system, go to the justice system. Justice who? Justice who? Justice who? It's not here. Because what are you talking about? That these guys just did this. Anyways, I got to go. I got things to do, guys, because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. Check out my previous videos I just did. I was talking about the mega pastors and all this stuff and just funny and crazy stuff. And it doesn't make me happy, guys. I'm not happy about any of this. But I talk about it, and I'm talking about it because I don't want to be right. I want to be wrong, and I want everybody to avoid this stuff. I promise you, I take no enjoyment. In fact, this is what depresses me. This is what makes me think, oh, I should just take fentanyl. I should just take my life. Because I'm like, this is actually the world I'm living in. I'm just trying to scream from the mountaintops to everybody that we need to wake up and change how we're doing things. And then I'm the one who gets called conspiracy theorist and gets judged for this and that and told I care too much and all of this. But it's like, I just don't think we care enough. Because this hurts my heart to know that there's an old man and his family going through this. And now a young YouTuber who was trying to just do good, having to flee the country because of going to jail, because there was a whole ring of people who were doing heinous things after he followed the law to the letter. To the letter. This is the world we're living in, guys. Like I said, another episode of the world not disappointing and being disappointing. And if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.